Life for many of us feels like a constant battle. A battle not against the world itself, but against our own minds, our own emotions. How often do we find ourselves overwhelmed by frustration, anger, or fear? How often do we regret the things we said or the decisions we made in moments of weakness? These struggles are familiar to every person. And yet, if we look deeper, beyond the chaos of our emotions, we see that there is a path, an ancient, time-tested path, that offers freedom from this internal conflict. It is the path of Stoicism, and one of its most powerful guides is Seneca. Seneca was no stranger to life's trials. Living through political intrigue, exile, and personal loss, he knew the depths of human suffering. But it was through these experiences that he crafted a philosophy, one that does not shy away from hardship but embraces it as a tool for transformation. Seneca's writings are a guide, not just for understanding life's difficulties, but for using them to cultivate strength, resilience, and inner peace. We too can walk this path. We can learn from Seneca and transform our lives using his Stoic insights. But this transformation requires more than knowledge. It requires action. It requires self-control. And it requires a willingness to confront our destructive emotions and reshape them into something powerful, something unbreakable. The nature of our struggles. Before we dive into Seneca's teachings, we must first understand the nature of the struggles we face. So much of the pain we experience in life stems from our own judgments. It is not the events themselves that disturb us, but our perception of them. Think of the last time you felt anger or frustration. Was it truly the situation that caused your suffering? Or was it your expectation that things should have been different? Seneca understood this well. In his letter to Lucilius, he writes, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." This craving for more wealth, more power, more approval from others is the root of much of our emotional turmoil. We suffer not because life has wronged us, but because we have allowed ourselves to be enslaved by our desires, our expectations, and our judgments. To transform our lives, we must first transform our perspective. We must learn to see the world as it is, not as we wish it to be. This is the first of Seneca's lessons. Accept reality. When we stop fighting against the natural course of events and learn to embrace them, we free ourselves from the unnecessary suffering that comes from resistance. Life, after all, is unpredictable. We cannot control the external world, but we can control how we respond to it. The power of self-control. One of the cornerstones of Seneca's philosophy is self-control. Without it, we are at the mercy of our impulses, reacting to every insult, every setback, every disappointment with emotional volatility. But when we cultivate self-control, we take back our power. We become the masters of our own minds, rather than slaves to our emotions. Seneca knew that true strength lies not in the ability to dominate others, but in the ability to dominate oneself. No man is free who is not master of himself, he tells us. And yet, how often do we let our emotions rule us? How often do we give in to anger, jealousy, or fear without even realizing it? Self-control is not about repression. It's not about denying our emotions or pretending they don't exist. Instead, it's about recognizing our emotions for what they are: temporary, fleeting sensations, and choosing not to be controlled by them. It's about creating a space between stimulus and response, where we can choose how we want to act, rather than being swept away by our impulses. Imagine the last time you were angry. Perhaps someone insulted you, or a situation didn't go the way you expected. In that moment, you had a choice: to react with anger, or to pause, reflect, and respond with calm. Most of us, if we're honest, react without thinking. We lash out, we raise our voices, we say things we later regret. But what if instead we practice self-control? What if, in the heat of the moment, we allowed ourselves to be still, to be silent, and to let the emotion pass? Seneca teaches us that self-control is not just about what we do, but about how we think. He who is brave is free, he writes. And bravery, in this context, means the courage to face our own emotions, to sit with them, to understand them, and to rise above them. Embracing adversity as a tool for growth. Life is filled with hardship. We will all face loss, disappointment, and failure at some point. But for Seneca, adversity is not something to be feared or avoided. It is something to be embraced. It is through hardship that we grow, that we learn, and that we become stronger. Difficulty strengthens the mind, as labor does the body, Seneca reminds us. Every challenge we face is an opportunity for growth. Every setback is a chance to cultivate resilience. But this requires a shift in mindset. Most of us see adversity as something negative, something to be avoided at all costs. We want life to be easy, smooth, and comfortable. But comfort does not breed strength. It breeds complacency. To transform our lives, we must learn to see adversity differently. We must stop viewing hardship as an enemy and start seeing it as a teacher. Every time we face a difficult situation, we are being given an opportunity to practice fortitude, patience, and wisdom. We are being given a chance to become better, stronger, and more capable of handling life's inevitable challenges. Seneca understood this well. In his essay on Providence, he writes, "Why then, is it strange if God tries noble spirits with severity? No proof of virtue is ever mild. Life will test us. It will throw obstacles in our path. But these obstacles are not there to defeat us. They are there to help us grow. They are the training ground for our inner strength." The importance of reflection. Self-transformation requires not just action, but reflection. It is not enough to go through life reacting to events as they come. We must take the time to reflect on our experiences, to learn from them, and to adjust our course accordingly. Seneca was a firm believer in the power of reflection. He often advised his students to set aside time each day to reflect on their actions, their thoughts, and their progress. In one of his letters he writes, "The time will come when our lives will lie open before us like a book, and we shall be able to read and learn all that we have done." Reflection allows us to learn from our mistakes, to see where we have fallen short, and to make adjustments for the future. But reflection is not about dwelling on the past. It is not about regretting our mistakes or wishing we had done things differently. Instead, it is about learning from those mistakes and using that knowledge to improve ourselves. Reflection is a tool for growth, not for self-judgment. As we reflect on our lives, we must ask ourselves, are we living in accordance with our values? Are we practicing the self-control and fortitude that Seneca teaches? Are we using adversity as an opportunity for growth? Or are we allowing it to defeat us? And by reflecting on these questions regularly, we can begin to transform our lives from the inside out. We can become more aware of our thoughts, our actions, and our emotional responses. And with that awareness comes the power to change. Overcoming destructive emotions. One of the most powerful insights Seneca offers is his understanding of destructive emotions. Emotions like anger, jealousy, and fear are not inherently bad. They are part of the human experience. But when we allow these emotions to control us, they become destructive. Seneca often warned against the dangers of anger in particular. Anger, an acid that can do more harm to the vessel in which it is stored than to anything on which it is poured, he writes. Anger consumes us. It clouds our judgment. It leads us to make decisions that we later regret. But anger, like all emotions, can be managed. It does not have to control us. Through self-awareness and reflection, we can learn to recognize the signs of anger as they arise and choose not to act on them. This is not about suppressing our emotions, but about mastering them. Seneca believed that the key to overcoming destructive emotions lies in our ability to challenge the thoughts that give rise to them. When we feel anger, it is because we believe that we have been wronged in some way. But is this belief true? Is the situation really as bad as it seems? Or are we allowing our judgments to distort our perception? By questioning our thoughts and challenging our judgments, we can begin to see our emotions for what they are: temporary, fleeting responses to external events. And in doing so, we can free ourselves from their destructive power. Living with purpose. At the heart of Seneca's teachings is the idea that we must live with purpose. Life is short and time is fleeting. Life, if well lived, is long enough, Seneca tells us. But too often, we waste our time on things that do not matter. We chase after wealth, power, and status, believing that they will bring us happiness. But Seneca knew that true happiness comes not from external achievements, but from living a life of virtue. To transform our lives, we must first understand what truly matters. We must define our values and align our actions with those values. We must learn to focus not on what we can control externally, but on what we can control internally: our thoughts, actions, and character. Seneca's teachings urge us to cultivate virtues like wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline. These virtues, not material success or fleeting pleasures, are what lead to a meaningful life. Focusing on what truly matters. Seneca warns us that much of the suffering we endure comes from our misplaced priorities. We invest time, energy, and emotion into things that are fragile, impermanent, and outside our control. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality, he tells us. We worry about the future, about what others think of us, about whether we will achieve the success we crave. But these worries distract us from the only thing that truly matters: living in alignment with our values in the present moment. The Stoic way, Seneca reminds us, is to focus on what is within our control. We cannot control how long we live, but we can control how well we live. We cannot control the actions of others, but we can control our response to them. We cannot change the past, but we can decide how we will move forward. This shift in focus from external circumstances to internal mastery opens the door to true freedom. It liberates us from the endless cycle of fear, regret, and frustration, and allows us to live with purpose, clarity, and peace. Seneca's wisdom speaks to the core of what it means to live a fulfilled life. Begin at once to live, and count each separate day as a separate life, he advises. This is not just a call to make the most of our time, but a reminder that the quality of our life is determined by how we live each day, each moment, with intention and awareness. Embracing death as a teacher. A central theme in Seneca's work is the contemplation of death, not as something to fear, but as a powerful teacher. Death, he says, is not to be feared because it is inevitable. It is the one thing in life that we can be certain of. But rather than allowing this certainty to paralyze us with fear, Seneca teaches us to use it as a guide for how to live fully in the present. He writes, "Let us prepare our minds as if we'd come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing. Let us balance life's books each day." By reflecting on our mortality, we are reminded of the urgency of living in alignment with our values. We are reminded that time is precious, and that wasting it on trivial concerns is a form of self-betrayal. To truly transform our lives using Seneca's insights, we must embrace the reality of death not as an enemy, but as a motivator to live with purpose, to act with courage, and to cultivate the virtues that define a meaningful life. Transforming life through Stoic practice. Seneca's teachings are not just theoretical, they are meant to be lived. To truly transform our lives, we must put his wisdom into practice every day. This is not an easy task, but it is the path to true freedom, peace, and fulfillment. Here are some practical ways we can incorporate Seneca's Stoic insights into our daily lives. Daily reflection. Set aside time each day to reflect on your thoughts, actions, and emotions. Ask yourself, did I live in alignment with my values today? Did I practice self-control and fortitude? Did I use adversity as a tool for growth? Focus on what you can control. When faced with challenges, remind yourself that you cannot control external events, but you can control how you respond to them. Focus on maintaining your inner peace, regardless of what is happening around you. Embrace adversity. When difficulties arise, see them as opportunities to strengthen your mind and character. Remember that every challenge is a chance to grow in wisdom, courage, and resilience. Question your judgments. When destructive emotions arise, take a step back and question the thoughts that are fueling them. Are these judgments accurate, or are they distorted by your expectations and desires? Live with purpose. Define your values and live by them. Let each day be a step toward becoming the person you aspire to be. Focus on the virtues of wisdom, justice, courage, and self-discipline, rather than chasing after external rewards. Contemplate mortality. Reflect on the fact that life is finite. Use this reflection to guide your actions, to live with intention, and to focus on what truly matters. By committing to these practices, we begin to transform our lives from the inside out. We move from being reactive to being intentional. We move from being controlled by our emotions to mastering them. And most importantly, we move toward a life of meaning, purpose, and inner peace. Transform your life now. Now is the time to act. The teachings of Seneca are not just for reflection. They are a call to live differently. They are a call to take control of your mind, your emotions, and your life. Ask yourself, are you living the life you want, or are you being controlled by your emotions and external circumstances? Are you using adversity as a tool for growth, or are you allowing it to defeat you? Are you living with purpose, or are you wasting time on things that do not matter? Today is the day to begin the transformation. Start by practicing self-control. Start by reflecting on your actions. Start by embracing adversity as a chance to grow. The power to transform your life is within you, but only if you choose to act. We walk this path together, committed to mastering ourselves and living with purpose. Together we can transform our lives using the wisdom of Seneca. The time to act is now.